Valheim is a brutal exploration and survival game for 1 to 10 players, set in a procedurally generated purgatory inspired by Viking culture. Players can battle, build and conquer their way to a saga worthy of Odin's patronage. The game is developed by Iron Gate and was released in early access on Steam February 2nd, 2021, and so far it has received overwhelmingly positive reviews. The game has a very stylized look, and as a lover of survival games in general, I decided to play it for a few hours to see what it was all about. In this video you will see my live gameplay as I talk about my experience with the game. Let's get into it. Starting off with the character customization, the game gives you a few options. You can choose to play as either a male or female and adjust your skin tone. You have a few different hairstyles and beard options to choose from to make yourself the perfect Viking warrior. Next up, you choose your server. I tried to join an open public server to experience the multiplayer, but every single one had a password. I made myself a private server and began my solo journey. A giant bird carries your starfish Viking into the world. In the lore, the player has died and is being delivered to Purgatory, where they can work to curry favour with the gods. When I finally landed in the world, I was instantly attacked by some kind of tree monster. Without a weapon, I had no choice but to beat it to death with my bare hands. This leveled up my unarmed skills. The game has a number of skills, each of which level up as you use them, much like the Elder Scrolls games. Once the little guy was dispatched, I spoke to the birdie that serves as your guide. I was told to inspect the runestones to receive the location of a great beast I would need to vanquish to prove my worth to the gods. After that, I was told how to make some tools, so I crafted myself a stone axe and set off exploring. I discovered a beautiful little island off the coast
with
and
free
decided
version
to
for
make it my
non-commercial
home.
use.
I set about tearing down the structure that was already there, whilst also heading back out into the woods to gather more building supplies. When the building was finally down, I began building a home of my own. The building works on a grid system, but has the option to put pieces in other places too if you wish, so you don't always need to follow the grid, which is nice. I laid some new floor and put up some walls before moving on to the roof. I made a second floor and decorated it with some torches, a bed, and a couple of chests. My home ended up looking more like a barn than a Viking longhouse, but I was happy with it anyway. With my barn finished, I set off on my quest to defeat the boss. I had to deliver the correct offering to an altar to summon the beast. Luckily for me, I guessed right the first time. I handed over my offering and prepared for a fight. The entire world shook and suddenly a giant stag with electrified chains wrapped around its antlers attacked. I tried to fight back, but didn't stand a chance.
Created with free version for non-commercial use.
In no time at all, I was defeated and sent back to my barn. After waking back up in my bed, I tried to go back and collect my gear from my corpse. Before I could even get close, Boss began charging at me. I tried to run away, and the mob followed me all the way back to my home. I tried to put up a fight, despite being in my underpants, but was defeated once again. After that defeat, I decided to explore the world and gear myself up some more. The world is fairly large with diverse biomes. The forest was dense with trees and bushes, and made it feel as though I was venturing into the unknown. I eventually wandered into the Black Forest, where my bird friend warned me to turn back as it was too dangerous. Judging by my defeat at the hands of the last boss, I thought it was best to listen. I headed home and came across a skeleton that hit even harder than the boss. I ran away in shame once again, and luckily the skeleton stopped chasing me quicker this time. Back home I made myself a bridge, which was quickly flooded by seawater as the tide began to rise. A storm rolled in quickly, and it felt really violent with crashing waves, thunder and lightning. Next, I discovered that my house was flooded, and my Viking points fell even lower. Next, I tried to make a boat. As I put it in the water, it fell on my head. I tried to get the boat moving even though the weather was not the best for sailing, but being the worst Viking in history, I was unable to even lower the sail. Defeated once again, I wandered around and eventually ended up on my roof to enjoy the sunrise. As I was looking around, I slipped and fell to my death. With no more fight left in me, I retired my Viking and gave up on my hopes of escaping Purgatory. So what did I think of Valheim? Overall, I really enjoyed my time playing Valheim. It reminds me a little bit of Conan Exiles with the building and combat. The graphical style is nice, but not really something that I'm that into. I can appreciate the look though, and I think a lot of people will really like it. The world is fun to explore with really lush feeling biomes. The forest I was in was really dense. It's not often that a forest really feels like a forest, but this does. Without the map, it is really easy to get lost in the woods. The combat is pretty standard stuff, but works well enough. The building's a little tricky at first, but when you work out the snapping it does get easier. The materials aren't too expensive either, so you can build some big stuff pretty cheap. The basic pieces at least. When things start needing animal hide, it does get tougher, and I spent a lot of time roaming around the map just trying to hunt some pigs and deer for scraps. And even then, I still didn't have enough for a lot of the pieces. The boss design is great, and I got utterly destroyed by the first guy, although I think I did rush it a bit. It should be pretty fun trying to defeat all the different bosses. I do recommend this game if you are into building or survival games, as it does have a lot to offer. The Viking theme is popular right now, and is a fun theme to build to. The game does feel a little rough around the edges, and the world feels a little empty of animals and mobs, but it's still in early access, so this can be excused for now. I might be a terrible Viking, but I definitely had a good time. Valheim gets a thumbs up from me. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and